Hello everyone, Shanga here, and welcome to the start of the Beginner's Guide series. This first episode is going to be primarily about re-rolling and my tips and tricks on how to do it. So what re-rolling is in relation to this game, or actually most games, gacha style games, is where you go ahead and use a system in the game to reset your account to go ahead and give you the beginning summons and the beginning rewards all over again to try and get a certain unit or set of units that will be able to bolster your gameplay. Most reroll guides will go ahead and give you the tier list based on the PvP standard, and I'm here to tell you I wouldn't do that. The PvP standard units are meant for, as they are classed, PvP. They are not meant to go ahead and do the PvE that you are aiming to do with, or that you have to do to get through to PvP. So with that, I will be going ahead and giving you my my tier list for PvE units that you should reroll for. But first, let's talk about what rerolling is. I mean, we already said what it was, but how to do it. So with this game, as you can tell, I'm on the Korean version currently, so it's going to be a bit hard to see. It's a bit hard to read what I'm doing. But so what you're going to do is you're going to click the settings, and you're going to go ahead and go over to here. It's the last one, and it should come up with a prompt telling you about resetting your account, and it'll give you a set of numbers. Inputting that set of numbers will go ahead and reset your account, completely delete all the data that has on it, and it will, at least for iOS, it will kick you out of the app. Once you do that, it's going to go ahead and you're going to have to restart, go through the whole tutorial again, which is beating just the tutorial stage here. And then you will go ahead and get your set of rewards. On Korea, it's there's a whole plethora of rewards, but with global you get the unit Sora, whereas with Korea you go ahead and get no name. There's a huge difference between the two of them. While both of them are destiny types, which is the blue type, Sora is a tank and a two-handed one, whereas No Name is a DPS with a dagger type weapon. Sora, personally, I believe will be able to bolster or boost you through the game a lot better than No Name will, because tanks end up being a lot more useful than the DPS, because eventually you'll find a DPS unit that can replace, for example, No Name. But in the long run, it's less likely that you'll be able to find a tank to replace Sora, because there are a lot less options for tanks. So that's basically how you reroll. And now onto the units that you want to look for. So I have split them up into different classes. I'm hopefully going to have a graphic up on screen that is explaining that has a picture of what I'm talking about. But I've split them up into classes, so there's tank, healer, melee DPS, and range DPS. Range DPS encompasses magic damage as well as some physical damage like Tempest and stuff, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So the first units that I'm going to talk about, tanks. There are, I think there's 3 actual tanks in the game, and the other 2 tanks in the game, or at least globally, are melee DPS. That is Daikon and then her brother Shub. Those 2 are I believe, personally I think, are wrongly classed as tanks. They are better suited as DPS units, but either way, they aren't units you want to reroll for. So when it comes to tanks, there's 3: Hirachi, Drip, and Sora. I place Drip and Sora around the same tier. Actually, Drip's a little higher because his what his ability is I believe he gives a shield and he adds a bunch of damage reduction, which is really good late PvE and as well PvP. But Sora at the start, because her ultimate skill goes ahead and heals for 5.5 I believe % of your max attack, that goes ahead and gets you through basically all of the starting stages a lot quicker and a lot better than Drip could. But Drip in the end is more useful than Sora. Hirachi, he is better suited for a combat class team, which is the red class, I believe, right? It's red. I believe red is combat class. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But he is more suited for if you're going for a combat class specific tank, where also you can replace Hirachi with a unit, an A unit instead of an A plus unit rim. And the A unit rim is basically the budget trip. He has a very similar skill set while also having a huge has a huge stat debuff due to him being an A rank. But either way, he is still a very good unit, and if you can get him, I wouldn't say during your first reroll you go ahead and choose him, but you can go ahead and he is a good alternative to things like Drip or Hirachi or Sora. So that's the tanks. The graphic will show you more of a detailed, or not really detailed, but more of like a tier list, I guess. And now we move on to healers. So there are 3 healers in the game currently: Alpaca, Sua, and Lime. I put Lime personally as the top healer because of her skill set. She is one of the quickest healers, I believe. While she doesn't heal for the most, she heals the fastest. I think that's what I've heard. I only have Alpaca, who just heals a lot, but it's a bit slower. But his totem is good. But we'll get to that when I'm describing Alpaca. But Lime, she heals quickly and she heals efficiently. She removes debuffs as well as she gives an attack buff. That skill set alone, is basically a ultimate healer. She is a really good healer and is what has pulled my main account through all of story mode, basically. After that, I put Alpaca. I know a lot of people put Sua because she goes ahead and heals for a lot. Personally, I think Alpaca is better because of his totem. Once you get it to SS, it goes ahead and also gives an attack buff. And it heals, while it's a little amount, it goes ahead and heals super quickly. So it's able to help your tanks tank longer. For example, you have Sua and Alpaca. Alpaca puts his totem down, while Sua's heal skills are on cooldown. And it's just really worth it. So that's why I put Alpaca above Sua, and Sua, because she has massive heals, she is there, but she's on the lowest of the healer tier list. Now we move on to melee DPS. There are 2 units tied for number 1 in melee DPS for PvE, in my opinion: Bamboo and Kim. Both have a very similar skill set. While I'm not sure what his SS skill or Bamboo's SS skill is, Kim's is a heal reduction. So she attacks, and I believe if she hits a crit, she goes ahead and applies a reduction to all heals, which is really good for PvP, as well as later PvE, where there are certain units that can heal the PvE mobs. And Bamboo, he does a bleed effect, which is similar to Kim's a burn effect. Both do damage over time, or dots, and they're both really good for PvE. They do quick damage and they do it well. After that, I would have to go ahead and put probably No Name and Hardcore Leveling Warrior, because they're good units. Hardcore Leveling Warrior, in my opinion, I use him as a pseudo tank because he goes ahead and gets basically all the tank armor except for he gets the sword, and so that's why I use him as a pseudo tank. And I've just heard that No Name does a lot of damage really quickly, which is good, so that's why she's also there. I believe you could also put here, let me check. You could also go ahead and put Lila there because she goes ahead and gives buffs, which are really good. And then I guess at the end of all the melee DPS, you would put Armies, Daikon, and Shub. Those units are good, but personally I don't see them as good as the rest. Actually, No Name should probably go there, and Hardcore Leveling War and Lila are in the tier 2. So yeah, as you can tell on the Korean roster, there's Heart Heater and Constant. I'm not going to include them because they currently aren't available on global or when I'm currently making this video. Maybe in the future when they get released, I'll make an update to this video, putting them also on the tier list. But currently for the PvE tier list, or my personal PvE tier list, they are not going to be included. And now we move on to the final ones, which is range DPS. So there is a lot of range DPS options. It's from Kyo all the way down to Oz, I forget what the other part is. Oz and Goldie, that's what it is. Oz and Goldie are good units for PvP, as well as Kyo. And Rigos is good, but I don't think I mean, actually, he is good, but I haven't tested him, and I haven't really heard, like, any, like, jaw-dropping opinions on him. So I'm gonna put him with Kyo, Oz and Goldie, Chocho, Bibi, and, yeah, those guys. They're all gonna be put in the same class. Actually, I think she's... Oh, she is range DPS. Okay, so armies actually was misclassed. The graphic won't show that, luckily. So you can just ignore what the graphic said, or you can ignore what I was talking about and just look at the graphic. But armies is probably going to be tier 2. Okay, that's just me thinking ahead. For my tier 1 for PvE, I'm going to go ahead and say that Tempest, Light, and Dark are up there. Now, I know that a lot of the tier lists go ahead and put them lower, but here's why I'm justifying them being where they're at. Light is a quick DPS magic unit who, with his SS skill and S skill, can get a lot of MP fast, which means that he gets his boss killing ultimate a lot quicker. So he's a great boss killer. Now, Tempest is a good unit for not only PvE, but also PvP. The reason I say he's good for PvE is because he has a backline normal skill, and then his ultimate skill is also a backline, but what it does is it's an AoE and it removes buff effects. So for things like Sky Garden and normal PvE matches, it's actually really good, because once you get later into the game, a bunch of the PvE like minor mobs have buffs, which is really annoying and can really deal a number to your tanks and DPS. Sorry about that. So that's why he's there. And the reason I put Dark with them is because he goes ahead, and once you get him to S, his skill can do, it doesn't say AoE, but I believe it is AoE. I still have to test it. I haven't seen, but it's an AoE defense break, I believe. So that is why he's there. Defense break is always good because it just means more DPS faster. And so that's why those 3 are put on tier 1. Actually, I'm probably gonna put Rigos, armies, and Chocho, I believe. I think, yeah, Chocho. Those 3 are tier 2, and Kyo and Oz and Goldie are gonna go ahead and be tier 3, because those are mainly PvP focused, and those are late game units, so you're not gonna really want those immediately on the reroll. But the units that I just talked about are the units you're gonna primarily want to go ahead and try and get during your reroll. So yeah, the reason I'm on my Korean account is because this is the account that I'm gonna be rerolling, and I'm probably gonna be doing all of my beginner's guides on. I'm gonna try and get a good reroll so I can go ahead and show like why I went for this. But I went through all the tutorial on this account, and so we're gonna go ahead and just do some summons right now because we can. So hopefully we get something good. Oh, and a gold right off the start. Hardcore leveling warrior. Okay, I will take that. Yeah, so there's our pseudo tank. Hopefully we can get another good unit. Holo's good. She's an attack buffer healer. And light. Whoa. I know we didn't get a healer on this account, but and I know this isn't the optimal account or optimal thing you're gonna want. But we got some good, so pseudo tank, DPS, and we don't have a healer. Okay, so that could be a problem. But hopefully we can get a healer later into the game. I know usually you would reroll for Lime at this point, or Alpaca, or Sua. But I'm content with having at the start 3 A+. That's a pretty good reroll, and not what I would recommend you guys doing. I would say if you're gonna go ahead and reroll, try and reroll for the units, the healer. Try and reroll for a healer. A healer is a lot more useful than DPS, but you will eventually go ahead and get at least a B tier hero or healer, or an A tier hero or healer, sorry. So, or at least I will. But you guys shouldn't be doing that. I know I'm not even taking my own advice at this point, but it's because I kind of am sick and tired of rerolling. It's been like 4 to 5 days of nonstop rerolls, and I'm kind of getting burnt out. So I'm perfectly content with having my 3A plus unit DPS, or 3A plus DPS units reroll account. So yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed the first episode of the Beginner's Guide series. This episode was all about rerolls and the units I would suggest you guys go ahead and pick up. If you guys did enjoy, please subscribe. More content of the Beginner's Guide is on the way. I believe in the next video we will probably end up covering equips and others. For that episode, that will probably be on my main account because it's a lot easier for me to actually do it when I can understand the game. So I thank you guys all so much for watching. I thank you guys all so much for the support on the previous videos. The videos are the video where I'm explaining about my account and the future of this channel has gotten a lot of positive support and a lot of positive reviews, and I really appreciate them. It's really nice going ahead and having a strong start with a nice community. So I thank all of you, and I also thank my guild Poseidon for going ahead and helping me get the confidence to make these videos. And I hope to see you guys all later. Peace.